This is Zen'n'ish.
Welcome to the Zen'n'ish podcast, where we dive into meaningful conversations that inspire clarity, growth, and a touch of Zen. I'm Dr. Kiki, and today we're honored to have Peter Faleskini. He's joining us to share insights on navigating midlife crisis and turning it into a transformative journey. So welcome.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Wonderful. Peter is a holistic coach and visionary behind Organ Wellness Coaching, and he's here with us today to share some insight. So, Peter, could you share a bit about yourself, your journey, and what brought you to this work?
Okay, so I have a typical societal induced goals story. So I come from a well-off family. I could do basically whatever I wanted. I studied with a lot of masters and courses all over the world. Then somehow I was in IT, and from IT I slowly transitioned into investment banking. And I wanted to do everything what society and family wanted from me. So after 20 years of work, I've experienced, also 22 years of work, I experienced severe burnout. And only after I've experienced burnout, I noticed that the goals that I'm chasing might not be my inner goals. So I'm more of a explorer, so I like to explore. So organ wellness is a derivative from my exploration of organ energy and studying ancient texts, and also not so ancient, but old books from Freud, Jung, and William Reich. And I'm also Freudian archetypal coach, so I help people with that. And I needed a lot of time to get out of my burnout and to get my head together. I needed 240 weeks of coaching, mentoring, therapies, workshops, and all this stuff. And like 80% of it was completely miss. So it was not a good match for me. It was just waste of time. And I said, okay, I was really lucky that I could retire and just work on myself. But most people are not. So they have to take care of the family. They have to take care of their job and other obligations while experiencing midlife crisis, maybe while they are even burnout. So I said, okay, we need to somehow get things together and choose the ones that worked for me and shorten this period. So in my group session right now, you can do the whole 12-step process of organ wellness coaching in 1 year. If you are in a hurry, you can opt for individual coaching, where we can do it in 12 weeks. And if you're super hurry and you believe in miracles, we have retreats where we can do it in 8 days. But then you have 6 different coaches working with you. And we do that for so families, for pairs that want a complete transformation. So basically, my burnout, bankruptcy, and all this stuff led to, okay, I have now time to get out of my midlife crisis. And I call it now that I went from midlife crisis to midlife clarity. And I help people gain more clarity, because midlife crisis seems to be an old-fashioned way to think about midlife, what happens. However, I believe that it's still relevant.
Yes.
It's not relevant, or it might not be relevant for psychiatry or psychotherapist, because the science became so advanced that they are able to diagnose every simple or not simple, but every single symptom of midlife crisis. So you are then depressed, you're anxious, you're traumatized, and all this stuff. But if we simplify it a bit, it's all midlife crisis. What we are induced by societal expectations, or our family expectations, or our partner's expectations. Then we do our best to meet this expectation. We get burned out, and we then only acknowledge that these expectations might not do us good because they do not make us happy, they don't make us healthy, they don't improve our lives. So we have to start thinking, what do we want? And the question, what do we want? Everyone says, yeah, I want $1 million big house and I want a big car. Yeah, but that's what society expects of you. What do you really want? And my clients usually start with the exercise that I did. Because when I was in the lowest point, I said, okay, what would I do today if I had 10 billion on my account? So it was like endless amount to me at that time. So, and I said, okay, and I wrote a bucket list. And here's the point. 80% of the things on my bucket list just took time. They don't take any money. So I just, I wanted to read that book. I wanted to collect old cars. I wanted to go somewhere. So the investment was negligible. So there was no need to wait to have 10 billions on the account, because I could do 80% of my bucket list while I was bankrupt.
Yes, that's a very important point. Yeah.
And so I can get fit without extra investment. Okay, I need to take care of my food a bit. And it's I can do prolonged testing and stuff like fasting, and all this stuff on my own, and doesn't cost anything, especially fasting is free.
Yes, you're right. These are great points. Before we go too much further into this exploration, I want to come back to the root a little bit, because like you talked about, we talked about burnout, we talk about midlife crisis, and those are words that we hear a lot, like in social media, and just kind of thrown around a lot also. So when we're looking at the term midlife crisis, it's one that many may recognize, but what does it truly mean? And what is it, or why is it so pivotal in our lives, or why is it that society puts so much emphasis on it?
I would say that society does not put enough emphasis on it, but we go into chasing our goals. We're all prepped on college, what we should do and what is expected of us, and what is the best, and who is the best in the world, and who should we look up to, or who should be our role model. What should we do? How should we improve the world and stuff like that? And it's all about the world, the outer world, and how will we improve society and all this stuff. And then 20 years pass and we just start recognizing the fact that maybe it's not about the world. Maybe we don't need to change the world. Maybe, or even if we are changing the world and we have a huge influence, what good is all this to ourselves? What are our needs? What are our wants? Not society's, but our wants. What is deep in ourselves? And by the time that you're 40, 45, you start, some people do it in 35 years old. And some people need to be 65 years old before they experience midlife crisis. But usually our body starts sending some signals. You're not young anymore. The recuperation takes more time. You can drink 2 days in a row and then be fresh at work. And all this stuff happens. Okay, now I'm old. A lot of toxins in my body. All the junk food start taking the toll. I was, for example, 60 pounds overweight. Uh, and that was my starting point because, of course, of the junk food addiction. And I didn't realize that because I was certain that that economically I'm doing the right thing because the junk food costs much less than normal food, and I don't
Right.
have
Yeah.
time to cook because I'm so busy and I'm so important, and someone else needs to cook for me. So, and this realization took quite a while. So when I was in my 20s, I didn't notice that, and when I was in my 30s, I started noticing things, but I was not convinced yet. But then the body says stop, and then okay, there might be something on that. So, and of course, there are these hormonal changes. We also burn a lot of hormones through our 20s. And things do change a lot in our body. And there's a lot of cumulative stress. And in our early 40s, late 30s, we start processing stuff from our childhood. Whatever we swiped the rope for the 20 years that we were super busy, that we didn't have time to stop, starts coming out. And old traumas, old problems, old grudges, all this stuff is something that we have to start working on. Lack of gratitude. So if we are, excuse the word, assholes, it starts catching up with us. Inflated ego starts having some consequences. So that is why the midlife crisis come. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Maybe I'm not as strong as I thought. Maybe I'm not influencing the world as I should. Maybe I'm influencing the world even more than I anticipated, but it makes no good for myself. And I don't find joy in it. So all these are telltale signs for a midlife crisis. And a lot of people, like 60%, even feel stuck in their life. And most of my work is to help people get unstuck on the new track and start practicing gratitude, start working on forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge one. And most people underestimate the importance of grounding.
Oh, yes.
And they're not grounded. And they start talking about all this spirituality, and I know God, and I'm studying Bible, and I've been to India, and I've meditated, but they're not grounded. So they just want to connect to our higher selves, but with our roots, they're not connected.
Yes.
So it's a huge problem. Then there are a lot of symbols, that there are a lot of cults that people are following. There are, even on YouTube, you have a lot of cult leaders. They are masked as a business persons, and they know something. But it's actually a cult thing. And all these cults and occult and everything starts triggering us, and all the symbols while we're experiencing midlife crisis. We know a lady that has crystals. We have our own organoids. We know energies. We know frequencies. But it makes no sense because our life is still a life of suffer and not enough. Not that, because in the Western world we have, or most of us have, more than enough materially. But we still, like, we have 4 cars, and we still believe that we need the 5th one and the 6th one. And before we even notice that we are ill or mentally challenged, we have 6 cars in the garage, and then we think, oh, we should have a new garage, or we should move because I need a bigger garage. But we are just filling the empty space with more and more stuff.
Yes.
And
not filling the soul.
Yes. And we're trying to please our souls with material things, but it doesn't work that way. However, we can use material world to help us acknowledge some patterns and let's say shortages in our soul. And I always say I used to be investment banker, as I mentioned, and now I know after all these years of studying that every business problem can be directly or correlated to one of the stakeholders' personal problem. So when someone comes to me and say, okay, I need a liquidity loan of 500,000 to help me, yeah, no problem. Let's check why is this happening? How did we come here? And stuff like that. And people are amazed. I have cases where people just made money overnight just because we helped them identify what's holding them back.
Yeah.
And a lot of people come because I'm also certified risk manager. I I help my clients because most of my clients are like business orientated and they need fast solution. Of course, in mental work, there are no fast solutions.
Right.
We have to establish new patterns. However, some things just click. If we identify the right trauma, if we can prescribe the right or the different handling mechanism, people have amazing results overnight just because of that. And it's same in group settings and in individual coaching. Things just start working differently because the world changes when our internal world changes.
Yes. I want to go back for a moment and kind of take it to a personal level, because I know that you briefly mentioned that, like you've kind of gone through your own midlife crisis. And I'm just wondering, when you began going through that process, was it something that you realized that was happening, or was it something that you happened upon and you're like, oh, I'm going through it? Or did you notice the start of it? And how did that relate to burnout? Or is it the same thing?
So I was completely, for the first 10 years, I was probably completely oblivious to my depressions and all the signs of midlife crisis. I didn't know what's going on. And what is really often the case with my clients, I was completely cut off from my body. I was not connected with my body. Okay, I did weights a lot. I did boxing, all this stuff, but I was not connected with my body. I didn't understand. I was just pushing my body. I was abusing my body. If we are, if I, that is how I feel now, because I wouldn't do that. I was eating junk food because I didn't care, because it was just like gasoline for my car. Junk food was, okay, I need to eat something to live, but it's not like that, because you have to appreciate your body. You have to be grateful for your body. Taking care of our body is our first dharma, as Indians would say. And it's until we're alive, we need to take care of our body. And I didn't, because I did a lot of sports when I was young. So I had a huge, bonus. And then in 20 years, this bonus was gone, and I was in malus, in negative. So I had to work really hard to get my body back together with all the dieting, fasting, weightlifting exercises. I train like 5 times a week now.
Wow.
So that every morning, the first thing I do is meditation, weightlifting, and a bit of cardio exercise, so that I stay fit. And I'm staying below 15% fat. So that's a telltale sign for me. If I go 15 or 16%, I know that I have a problem, or that I have to address something. And I'm really conscious when I get swollen in some place and stuff like that. So I start reacting immediately. When I go through 220 pounds, I know immediately something is wrong. So I need to work on it. because before I went to 280 pounds and I did not react. So because I was not connected to my body.
Right.
And we tend to, our society pushes us to react in logic, so in our logical mind, and in spirituality, that are two escapes from our bodies. And I had both, but I was not aware of that. So grounding is paramount, that we get back in our body. And there's and it's usually a long way. Sometimes it clicks, but it usually takes weeks or even months for people. Even the ones that are doing yoga or other exercises, when they start feeling their body, they acknowledge their body. They understand that the body has its own intelligence. Every trauma is hidden somewhere in the body. For example, we have a lot of nerves in our stomach. So stomach can really tell us a lot.
Right.
Then our heart has huge memory. That is, when we hold grudges, we basically are destroying our heart. And we say, I'm heartbroken. That means I have a grudge towards something that I'm not ready to forgive. So my heart will pump harder in order to be able not to forgive. So
that's like gut instinct is real as well.
Yes. And that is why also why food is so important. Because if we don't have a good biome in our gut and all digestion system, we get wrong impulses. Because it's like subconscious mind.
Yes.
Subconscious mind is protecting us from something, and our gut is also protecting us from something. But that is why we need to understand the impulses. So that is why it's so important to be connected with your body.
So, and speaking about the body, one question that comes to mind is when we're looking at midlife crisis or burnout, and we're looking at like male and female bodies, is there a difference in the way that may manifest?
Yeah. So first is the menopause that we know in female. That is a bit different in men. In men we can identify significant drop in testosterone and growth hormone. So we both go through hormonal crisis, let's call it, or emergencies. However, with men it's much easier because we can, with fasting and weight exercise, we don't need testosterone replacement treatment. We can do it a natural way. If we have sufficient sleep, we can basically come to the 25 years or 28 years old person's level of testosterone, and of course the food, if we don't eat a lot of sugar and stuff like that. So that our body needs to have, that is why I keep my body fat under 15% so that I can produce enough testosterone. But the key difference is oxytocin. That's the hormone that is in charge of lactation, and it's the most important hormone for female, because females, they need to feel safe. And their midlife crisis is that they don't feel safe anymore. In men, this might be oversimplification, but bear with me, it should help. In men are not motivated anymore. And it all comes down to libido or the life force or the energy or the organ energy, however you want to call it. And that means that the easiest way to monitor that is when we don't have a lust for sex. And male and female, it's the same. If there's a hormonal imbalance, we don't have lust for sex. That is like the biggest telltale sign. And then this develops in in many different directions, but this is the simplest way to see. If you don't have lust for sex, then you have a problem with your vital energy, or chi, or prana, or however you want to call it.
Right.
And this is the first sign of midlife crisis, that our life energy gets basically sucked out of us. And then we are not so motivated. Of course, then what most people do is try to substitute this with adrenaline rushes and dopamine addictions. And adrenaline, so prolonged adrenaline rushes are devastating for female, but also for males, because then they need a lot of adrenaline in order to get to dopamine cycle. But we don't want dopamine. Dopamine is a quick fix. We want to be happy. We want other hormones. And it's same, and we want oxytocin, so that we feel safe, that we feel belonging. And this is also a huge problem in our society today, because we don't have a social circle. And our social circle is there just... it's impossible hard, because it's just a competing circle. There's no shoulder to cry on. There's no support group where you would go and have a beer and talk about your problems. Everyone just, you need to make $1 million, you need to work more, grind. And that is the problem, because there's no supporting environment for a midlife crisis, because midlife crisis is still taboo. Okay, there is a midlife crisis, but everyone says, no, you're lazy, you don't work enough, you should do that. And the consequence of this, that we start risking more. So we instead of getting out of adrenaline rush and organizing our life in more sustainable way, we tend to assume more risks.
Okay.
Go into more risk investments, drive faster with the car, use drugs, get drunk, stuff like that. So it's because we need this adrenaline rush. We want to feel alive, but it's the wrong hormone to feel alive. We should be satisfied, but not in a way with the dopamine rush. But we need to have this prolonged satisfaction, or inner happiness, if you want. And that is how I say to my clients, for example, if you have purchased the right car, if you're all right with the car like for 2 weeks, then you made a mistake. But if every time you take a look at your car, you think, okay, I've made it, that's the car I always wanted, then this is the right car. And it's same with the house and all this stuff. And because we're doing things for the wrong reasons. If we bought a car to have fun and to be safe driving and comfortable and all this stuff, then this would be the right reason. But if we just want to brag in front of our colleagues and friends, then this might be the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And it's also important that we do the right things, not just everything right.
Yes. So when we're looking at all of this, the midlife crisis, the burnout, and I'm a firm believer in grounding and making sure that we have roots and that connection. So if we're looking for clarity, if we're looking for next steps, if we're looking for ways to ground, what are some practical steps or strategies to turn a midlife crisis into an opportunity for clarity and transformation?
So I have devised 12 steps. First one, we start with goals, trade-offs, and try to understand what are the trade-offs of our goals, especially in order to understand what goals are societally induced and what, in a sense of trade-offs, that means for us. And then I go to check conscious and subconscious mind, because there's huge disparity. I want to be rich, but rich people are no good. They're all criminals and stuff like that. These are disparities. Or I want to work less, but I'm not lazy. And, and this is where conscious and subconscious mind, they play tricks on us. So it's important that we check that. Then we have a lot of grudges. Let's realize it. And most of our grudges are against ourselves. So we have to start practicing forgiveness.
Yeah.
And forgiveness in the Bible, they say like 390 times to forgive. Neuroscience, they say that for new synapses to take place in our brain, we need about 400 repetition. And these repetition are not just, I forgive yourself, but you have to feel it because it's a thought and a feeling in order to start carving new synapses in our brain. And they made an MRI scans, and they can literally scan the new synapses now, because when you start with gratitude, then the forgiveness, then you start with gratitude. Gratitude, you have to be grateful for what you already have, and start understanding. But you have to feel gratitude, because my biggest problem was my education was that the gratitude is part of manners. You have to be grateful because he did something, but you have to feel it. And I never felt that. Only after burnout, I started to feel gratitude. And I had to learn how to feel gratitude. Not say thank you because you made me this favor, and I'm grateful, I'm so grateful. That's not nothing if you don't feel it.
Right.
Then the next thing is grounding. There are a lot of practices for grounding. Now you have a blanket for grounding for your bed. You have a meditations for grounding. What I do and what I prefer is barefoot walking in a park or on my farm. And if you go swimming in the ocean, that's perfect grounding experience. If you hug a tree with your bare hands, perfect grounding experience. If you just take a stroll through woods, perfect grounding experience. So this is, of course, some people believe that we have so many electromagnetic interferences right now, but I always say it's much less, if it affects us much less if you're grounded, because then we just all the interferences go for us in the earth, and that's it. So it's much less effective or damaging for us. What I propose is to do grounding at least twice a day, in the morning and the evening, if possible, also during the day, especially if you have some nervous situation that triggers you. Grounding, a bit of breathing exercises, grounding, and that changes everything. Then I talk about goals again. So that is the second time. Now that we know that we are now grounded, we have forgive, and we are grateful. Now let's talk goals that will satisfy ourselves. And I talk a lot about goals. So if the goals after all the sessions that we have done before are not changed, something is wrong with the person that has attended the sessions. Because when we grow, our goals get different. Maybe you need to make more money. Maybe you can make less money if all your needs are already met, and your house is paid off, and your car is paid off, and you have a retirement, 401 retirement fund taken care of. Then maybe you can make less money and have more time for your kids or grandkids. Maybe that's the adequate goal for yourself. It's not always about making more, but the priorities usually shift. So then we align these goals with the law of attraction. Because a lot of goals are not aligned with the law of attraction, especially common are the faults like I don't want to. That is not the goal.
Right.
The goal is not I don't want to be ill. The goal is I want to be healthy.
Yes.
I don't want to suffer. No, I want to have a good time. That is the goals. But that is really common with the clients, that they have these wrong goals. Then you don't want to wish someone something bad. So all the goals need to be attuned to the higher good for all of us. So if you made something good for society, of course you can take things for yourself. So you should not wish someone dies in order for you to get their house. But that is a common goal. And I want to be better off then. That's not goal. And you don't want to have scarcity in your goals. And that's an insight I will share only for your listeners.
Okay.
So you don't want to plan this house, because this house is only one. But if you plan that kind of house, there are hundreds or thousands of them. So always plan that kind of house. Do not plan this house. Okay? You can imagine as many details as possible. I'm not against that. But don't ever plan this house or this car, because this car is only one. So if you come there and say, okay, I want this car, the seller sees that you are interested, the price goes up. But if you want this kind of cars or this kind of car, there are probably 10,000 of them for sale in the US at the moment. So it's abundance.
Yes.
You always have to have abundant goals, not scarcity goals. And that is where a lot of people miss, because they believe that the law of attraction is all about planning this exactly this car and exactly this house. No, it's not. It's this kind. Yes, imagine what kind of windows you will have. Imagine what kind of carpentry will be there. All this you can imagine. But don't go for this house, because this is scarcity. You don't want to trigger scarcity mindset.
Wow. Just that small change is huge.
And the results are amazing. And there's additional thing that I also teach to my individual clients is Jung has developed a system of archetypes. And we have, so each of us has 3 or 4 different archetypes. So if you are the ruler archetype, then you want to have 3 houses and 5 kilos of gold and 100 million on the account and stuff like that. That is if that's your predominant archetype, that might be the corresponding goal for yourself. But for example, for me as a creator, my goal is not to have $1 million as a creator. As a creator, my goal is to record a video or write a book. And there's no need for me, because I'm a creator, to have a goal. I'll have a video with 1 million views. That's not a goal for me. My goal is I'll have great video. I'll do my best to do the video. And that is the goal for the creator. For example, as an explorer, I'm exploring organ energy. I'm dedicating X amount of hours, probably about 20 hours a week, just to conduct experiments with organ energy and to see other experiments, or to check other experiments and other people that are experimenting with the same thing and exchange opinions and stuff like that. That is, as an explorer, that is my goal. My goal is not to invent something, because that's a different archetype. And as a benefactor, for example, you can donate to charity, or you can do free services. And that's what I'm doing. I do a lot of free content so that people can, and I have a wellness retreat in Slovenia, so people do not need to pay if they don't have money. It's a donation based. So that is my a benefactor. That is what I do, and that is one of the goals, so that people have availability of my resources. That is what I do as a benefactor, or I give free advice online. That is as a benefactor. It's not I'll have 10 million to donate to charity. That is not the benefactor goal. So this is important, and then we go into the next phase where we test if goals are now aligned in conscious and subconscious. Because if we have some limiting belief in our subconscious, like money is bad, we don't want to plan for money. We will plan for other things that we don't believe that are bad, and as a consequence, we will get paid, of course. So we need to fine tune our goals to remove as many blocks as possible. All the blocks most of people will never remove, most of us, because I'm one of them, will never remove all the blocks that we have in our mind. But we can remove most of them, and we can avoid them and plan a different way. And then we go into symbols and different energies that we want, because a lot of people work either with symbolism, like I need to have my house needs to be number 8 because that's good for fortune, or I need to have I don't know this name on the door because this brings us luck, or we have to, or something like that. So there are a lot, depending on the background, we have different symbols that we are triggered by. And if we know the symbols, we can use these symbols to our advantage, because if we see number 8, and if we believe number 8 is something that encourages wealth, we should have it in our office. It's so simple. If we believe in crystals, we should have the right crystals. What I teach are organoids. We should have the right organoids with us. I'll try to show. You see that
Yes.
organoid?
Oh, yes.
This one is lapis lazuli inside. It's a pyramid shape and gold, and it helps us. Support our business endeavors and clears our thoughts as regards to business. It's just a frequency support. It will not do anything instead of us. But if we add all these small things together, our life will experience a lot less blockages. Not some blockages are a must, so that we can grow and we can change and we can adapt. But not all of them. And of course, if we are able to organize our things in a way that resonate with our inner self, we will experience much less hardship.
Yes.
And then we go into the organ wellness as a concept, where I teach my clients how to use all this daily, because the inner work is journey, not a destination. So you have to do it regularly, and they can always come back for advice. But they can also find other teachers, because organ wellness is extremely inclusive. I don't want to exclude anyone because you're on that diet or this diet. Doesn't matter. If it works for you, it's good. You prefer, I don't know, riding a bike instead of weightlifting? Okay, do what works for you. If your hormonal balance is okay, that's okay. So if you believe yoga is better than a normal meditation, do yoga. I'm really inclusive. If you go to church on Sunday, go to church. If it makes you feel better, then it's good. So for me, everything is about inclusion, and I teach my clients how to use it to their best advantage. Because we have all these tools, we just need to use them. Our world is so abundant with tools and symbols and possibilities and gurus and all this stuff. And I never say, "Oh, I'm the guru." No. If you have a motivational speaker that you like, just go listen to them. I will never say, no, you shouldn't. No, just go listen to them. Even if it's not good for you, it will be a good lesson when you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so
true.
that is how I look at life and how I have developed organ wellness, because my biggest problem was so many forbidden things in so many methods. So I don't, please don't restrict me. Don't tell me I'm the best and there's nothing else, because I have a sanction audit call before we start or before people start working with me. Why is that important? Because you might not like me as a coach or as a person.
Yeah.
And why would you work with me? That it makes no sense, because there are so many good coaches and they have different methods, but they're also efficient. So organ wellness works for me, and I'm inviting whoever believes that I can help them to get in touch. I'm not saying that I'm the best, I'm the only one, because for some people I'm the best, for others I'm the worst, but that makes no difference, because that is the world. You need to find what resonates with you. That is the most important. And you need to find the method that resonates with you, and you need to find the coach that resonates.
So you touched on this a bit, but I'm thinking about, like, sometimes people might feel overwhelmed or not where, or they aren't sure where to start, or, just kind of stewing in the soup. So if someone is feeling stuck in this phase of midlife crisis, or just, like not sure what next steps are, what would be one actionable step that they could take today to begin to move forward?
The first thing is clarity is overvalued. I don't think that we need that much clarity as everyone is trying to tell us on the internet and in the books. Yeah, you just need perfect clarity. You don't need a perfect clarity. First, we have this OAK method. So orientation, adaptation, and calibration. So the first, we need to start with orientation. Where are we standing? Just write down, where are you in your life? Okay, for example, I'm 40 years old, so now people will live 100 years, so I still have 60 years to go. Okay? I'm healthy or I'm not healthy. I want to improve my health. My body is fit, is not fit. I have good relationships. I don't have good relationships. And always write both sides. Because life is black and white. And we need to have black in order to understand white. So it's important. If we are stuck, we probably don't see the light. We're stuck in because we don't see the light. Or we see the light, but we're not brave enough to follow the light. So that is important that we just write down. And that is how we start with orientation. That is if you want to do it alone. There are a lot of great videos on internet. There are a lot of gurus. There are a lot of topics that are covered on the internet. However, some things or a lot of things we can do alone. But there are topics in our psyche, especially when dealing with subconscious, is usually much easier to do it with a partner or coach or mentor. And sometimes it's really good if you join the groups. I'm moderating the Midlife Crisis group on Facebook, and you can join there and ask a question anonymously if you want to start. That I think that's a huge advantage. And you will see that other people that went through that will try to help you. And you're not alone, because we don't talk enough. And we talk about our achievements. We don't talk about our shortcomings. But not in the way that everything is bad in this world. But we're just lost.
Yeah.
There are times in our life that we feel lost because we came a long way and we don't know where we are going, and we are a bit afraid that we're going to lose what we already achieved, and we are looking forward to losing everything because we can build it from scratch then. Talking about relationships, when we are in a relationship that is not satisfying, maybe the next relationship will be much better, but are we ready to move out of it? Maybe we're just not grateful enough for this relationship, and that is confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why it's important that we have a group settings, and people will tell you there, okay, this is nothing special, don't be afraid, maybe it will pass in 3 months or something like that, because a lot of things just settle on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Some require a lot of work, but some just require time.
Yes.
Especially if you lose a loved one, it takes time to heal. You will not just recover from losing your husband or wife in a week. That's impossible. Or you're a psychopath if that happens. If you're a human being, then you will need 9 to 12 months to process all this stuff.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of different topics that we all are facing, but a group setting can help you a lot. And then the next level is psychotherapy or coaching. The expert, if you can build a rapport with your coach, this will be the biggest breakthrough in your life.
Yeah.
Of course, there are also some bad coaches and bad psychotherapies that will just torture you, but most of them are well equipped right now to help you make a progress.
Yes.
And of course, talk with the right people. If you're hanging with someone every day, they're probably not the right people to talk with, because they know you from a different angle, and they will think that you're crazy, because a lot of people, or at least how people perceive me, because I went from investment banker into coaching, and that means that my income was probably 100 times less. So a lot of people think that I'm crazy because I'm not driving a Mercedes anymore. I'm driving a Hyundai, and they think, oh, how could you do that? You're a disgrace or whatever. But I feel much happier when someone says, okay, Peter, we solved this problem. Thank you very much. And when they say, okay, you have helped me a lot, that means much more than my end of the year bonus. And this is important to acknowledge. So the same people that you're living with will rarely change, or will rarely accept that you have a problem, because they have their own problems that they do not discuss.
Yeah.
So why do you think that they would help you with your problem?
Yeah.
So you need to be careful. But as I said, we have Facebook groups. People from all over the world are there. They have different experiences, different cultures, have different reactions to midlife crisis and different action plans. So we all have to acknowledge that.
And in the beginning, you talked a bit about how, like with modern culture, looking at midlife crisis, they tend to pick it apart and find all these different parts. Like there's the depression, there's the this, there's the that. But when we're looking at your approach, how does your holistic coaching approach provide a more complete path to recovery and growth?
Yeah, so modern science and especially medical system is so advanced that they can diagnose everything. I try to simplify things, and I just talk about balance. And that is why my approach is based on the Oak methodology, where we go about orientation, adaptation, and calibration. So we go through 3 phases, and we're not about diagnosing anyone with anything. We're looking for reasons and helping them just regain balance. I'm also not big on traumas. Of course, I know about traumas because I'm certified, but I'm not big on traumas. I do believe that in a good environment, all the past traumas will be either healed or compensated for. So it's important that is. I don't believe we should occupy if we have a functionality, so that if we can function in life just okay, we shouldn't brought that traumas back. Usually, because I specialize in performance, not as much in functionality, because most of my clients are fully functional. Even more, they are either extremely optimistic, well off, and stuff like that, or people that have an inspiration in themselves. That is also important, because I always like to help people start something new. So even if you have a completely different background, I do believe that you can switch career. That is also one important thing to know. Our culture is based on get a career, get specialized, be good at one thing. Yeah, but maybe you get bored and maybe you just get a new career or try something new. And don't be afraid, because you can drive Uber today and get some cash flow, and while you are studying or while you're just exploring things, because midlife crisis is also a good opportunity to explore other options, because there are options, and there are different lifestyles available, and there are different places to live. There are different people to date. That's so. The world today is so connected and so full of opportunities. So we should be focusing on opportunities more than on all the dangers. Of course, we should never say there is no danger, but we should focus on opportunities, and also opportunities for personal development and for healthier and more satisfying life.
Yes. So I know that many of our listeners might relate to the struggle of balancing personal growth with like external expectations. So what's your advice for finding clarity amidst like all of this chaos of midlife?
So there are always struggle. If you meet societal expectations, I'm the first one that have achieved that. You have inner struggles. If you meet your expectations, you have outer struggles. So, because, for example, my colleagues that I used to work with, they all think that I'm crazy and loser and stuff like that, because nobody goes from a CEO position of Swiss Trust to being a coach. And I don't think that I'm crazy. Probably you can diagnose me also. Diagnosis right now are so good. But what I see is that I live my path, and I want my goals to be fulfilled, not societal induced goals. Of course, there are clashes, and there always. I also have to take care of some bureaucracy and stuff like that. Okay, my life is not perfect. That I don't have to do anything, and that I just do what I want, but. Right now, I'm doing like 80% of what I want. And before was like 5%. And that's a good trade-off. And I work like 4 days a week, and I used to work 7 days a week. So.
Right. And I think it's important. I think when people think of balance, a lot of times they think of 50-50. And that's not always what balance is. So like you said, like finding 80% of what brings you joy and fulfillment. And then, that 20% that's taking care of those extraneous things, that's balance for you.
Yeah, everyone has its own balance. And my job as a coach is to find them, to help them find their balance. And the balance changes. Yeah. Because when you're young, you can work a lot more, and you're not disbalanced because you work more. When you have a family, you will probably dedicate more time to your family, because the kids will go when they're 20 years old, and when they go to college, it's their bye-bye. Right. So you have to spend the first 20 years with them, not when you have time when they're 40 years old.
Right.
And there is a time for anything. And there are also seasons. We are all adapted to seasons. Yes, in the supermarket, you have all the food all the time. That is something. But in the older days, there was also seasonal food.
Absolutely.
And of course, if you live in an environment where there's a winter, you have to adapt to that. And all this is important to adapt to the nature as much as possible. But in the business world, we just believe that we can somehow, we don't need to sleep because we have coffee or energy drinks or cocaine or whatever. We don't need to be healthy because we have doctors. We don't need to have healthy relationships because we have Tinder and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
we don't have to drive safe because if we crash, we buy a new car. It's not like that. So this is not balance. This is just overdoing it. And every person has a different balance. And it's another really important thing that I struggled a lot. And that is why I talk about it, or I even preach about it, is that the post-traumatic stress is real. Even if you are in high echelon of business, you are so used to stress, then when you get out of it, your body carves or wants stress because that is the devil you know. And being relaxed is so unknown to us. And people have to adapt to that you can relax, that maybe you can go through all the weekend without the phone because you don't need it. And nobody will notice that you're not there. But we are so adapted or even addicted to stress and to financial stress. And we have a credit card debt and that debt and that debt. And then I said, okay, how will we go out of it? And it's usually really simple. We just stop buying stupid stuff. And we just service our car a bit more and we repay it in full and we don't have a car loan anymore. We pay off our house and we don't have a house loan anymore. So it's all this is possible, and small things make huge difference.
Yes.
And imagine being without debt, how peaceful the life would be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Peter, for listeners who want to explore this topic further, what are some ways they can connect with you or learn more about the work that you do?
I have a Facebook group called Midlife Crisis Group. I will send you the link. And I have also, if you're more extroverted that you don't want to be part of the group, you can, of course, give me a call at call.organwellness.com. I'll also send you the link. And of course, our LinkedIn, Peter Faleskini on LinkedIn. And that is also where I publish most of my content, because there's a free content available. So there are a lot of tricks of the trade that you can use if you don't want to get involved either in group environment, group coaching, or individual coaching. So that because it usually starts with denying, then acknowledging, and then we take action. That is how it starts. So even if you're in denial phase, I'm sure you will find something useful with my content.
Wonderful. Well, your insights have been truly enlightening. And I just want to thank you for being here with us today and sharing this information.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Zen'n'ish podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review if today's conversation resonated with you.
Zen'n'ish copyrighted podcast and website offer opinions of Dr. Lakeisha Hudson, Dr. Kiki Zen'n'ish LLC, and or guests. Content is for information only, not medical advice. Consult a professional for health concerns. Opinions are personal and do not reflect workplaces. Privacy is a priority. All names may be altered for confidentiality. Not for legal use. No guarantee of accuracy. No doctor-patient relationship established. For errors, email 423.4.doctor.kiki@gmail.com.